I'd like to call this meeting of the Internal Services Committee to order. And the first order is Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like a motion to adopt the agenda.
Romano adopts the agenda.
Support Nard.
Thank you. Commissioners Romano and Nard supported adopting the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. Next, approval of the minutes. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of the Joint Internal Services and Finance Audit and Budget Committees from August 15th. Do I?
Nard approve the minutes.
Thank you. Commissioner Nard and Perna made the motion and supported it. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. Public participation at this time. It's the first opportunity for public participation for those who wish to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on any item on today's agenda only. Later, there'll be a second public participation. Do we have any publics who want to speak? Public participation. Hearing none, we'll close public participation and move on to department recommendations. The first one is a Juvenile Justice Center door installation project for $84,000.
Good afternoon.
I'd like a motion to forward to full board.
So moved by Nard. Support.
Thank you. Motion made by Nard and supported by Zinner to move this to full board. Ben?
Good afternoon. I was so excited to tell you guys about this. So item 6A, it's a project to install an institutional grade separation door and associated wall on the sides of the door at the Juvenile Justice Center. It consists of saw cutting the existing floor slab and patching existing finishes, some HVAC alterations, electrical and lighting alterations, and a few fire suppression changes. The installation is intended to be a separation door between our state and state partner occupied portion of the JJC. The state and its partners will be housing juvenile wards of the state in a portion of the JJC facility. The state and or its partners will reimburse Macomb County all costs associated with the secure door installation project. It was bid out in the month of August, and the lowest qualified bidder was Bernco Incorporated in the amount of $84,000.
Thank you. This is just one door.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, the doors, these institutional doors, we're in the process of putting in a whole lot of them over at the jail. They cost around $17,000 to $20,000 each, these institutional grade doors.
And the 84 is for the labor?
We gotta build walls, cause it's in a corridor, so we gotta build a couple walls. We have to move some HVAC for separations of zones between the two areas. Painting, ceiling work, associated moving of lights to get in the way, out of the way of the door.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 10-0.
Thank you. Item 6B, Juvenile Court Interior Demolition Project for $495,000. I'd like a motion to move the full board.
So moved.
Support Zinner.
Thank you. Commissioner Romano and Nard supported it to make a motion to move this to full board. Ben?
So item 6B and 6C are both related, so I'll talk about them kind of interchangeably if that's okay. They're both part of an interior demolition of the juvenile court building that is over on 380 North Rose, in close proximity to the Juvenile Justice Center. The former juvenile court facility is a 20,000 square foot building. It was constructed in 1976. The building has largely been unoccupied since December 2016 when juvenile court moved to the old county building after renovations. We used it periodically as a swing space for prosecutor's office when we were doing construction. And we used it during COVID a bit for a few health department functions, but for the most part, nobody has been in there. It has not seen any major renovations or projects since its opening. It's kind of a time capsule, if you will, if you walk inside of it. We conducted a hazardous materials survey, ABF environmental consulting firm conducted this hazardous materials survey ahead of this abatement project, so that'll have to happen first. They found that all the exterior walls in the facility have asbestos containing material in the drywall mud. There is actually no walls within the building for the most part. It is made of these panels. They're called Hauserman panels. I believe the company is still in operation, but they no longer make this paneling system. It's, I don't know how to describe it. Instead of studs and drywall, it is this metal paneling system that has integrated electricity and integrated outlets, switches, etc. This was put in when it was opened back in the 70s and is now far been obsolete. So parts for these panels, we were literally purchasing them off of eBay, so they really have no use. So we were certainly going to demolish those. And we also have found over time that the electrical components and outlets of these Hauserman panels are kind of on the dangerous side. It's kind of exposed conduit inside those panels. So we've had several over time kind of burn up and cause issues. So there's some concern there. The intention of the white box demolition project is to prepare the building for an undetermined future use. And funding for this project was included in the previous budget amendment for Faith Christian and Macomb Community Action related expenditures. We have had it in the capital plan for a few years now. They decided to roll it into that 4.5 million as the original intent was we would possibly use this for swing space for Macomb Community Action. But they have since done the whole Faith Christian deal, so I kind of changed it a little bit. So I'm seeking approval for item 6B, which is a contract Spartan Contracting Group, in the amount of $495,000 for the interior demolition of Juvenile Court Building. This project was bid out and we received 6 bids.
Commissioner Perna.
Question, on the demolition, is there any recycling? Do we get any credit for anything when you tear the building down? Is there steel, brick? I mean,
So usually the interior components are factored into the estimate. There's estimated 10% content in the building right now. We have over the years taken out all the chairs, desks, or anything like that are of any good use. But as far as copper, wiring, aluminum and stuff goes, that's kind of factored in when these demo contractors do their pricing.
so they take it?
Mhm.
We don't?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Hey, Ben.
Hey.
Looking at the bid tab here, just curious why we're going with Spartan and not Allied in this, and they're half the price.
So we did post-bid interviews, myself and Wakely, who is our architect on record for this project. Allied's, so we have done previous work with Allied Construction that turned out extremely poor. It went over, not only over budget, went over the time that they were supposed to take, and we had tremendous issues. So I was concerned with Allied, so I had our architects reach out to all the references, and the references came back very poor. The architect is also working on additional projects with Allied Construction, and of course, they're our architect as well, and they are giving a poor review as well. Also, during post-bid interviews, the HVAC portion of this particular demolition is around $130,000 to $160,000 worth of work. And we feel that Allied missed this component as they only had $30,000 in their schedule of values for that. So we are expecting that we would right out the gate have some contract changes and issues. So we felt that Spartan was the lowest qualified on this particular job.
Okay, next question. Bernco.
Yes.
You're already hiring Bernco for the other project.
Yep.
Which you just got temporary approval a minute ago on that.
Yeah. Yep.
Wouldn't it make sense to use them on this as well?
It would. we looked at lowest qualified, and with the alternates or voluntary alternates, Spartan beats them out by about $6,000 to $7,000, somewhere in that range. So they are a little bit lower.
What do you mean the alternates?
I believe there was a.
Because Bernco is $3,300 cheaper on the alternate than Spartan. Although their supplemental fees are 3%.
Yeah, it's when we factor in supplemental fees, what we're covering, schedule of values. Bernco was just a little bit above Spartan. It was like 6,995 or something around this.
Okay, and then last question, I know it's the next item, but you kind of lumped them
Yeah,
together in regards to asbestos. So we're contracting that company to do the asbestos removal, not this contractor?
Correct. It is typically you separate the abatement from the demo. Generally speak, or not always, but a lot of times they're separate contractors. So what will happen is, I think they're using Blue Star Demo. What happens is they end up subcontracting it, so we end up paying more. So historically speaking, we always bid abatements separate. And like it shows, Global Green Services, they've done abatement for us in the past. They did the old county building abatement as well, but it's pretty typical in the industry to do them separate.
Great, thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Lucido.
Thank you, Chair. My question is, so we don't have a use for this building right now, and wouldn't it make more sense to wait to do this construction because like some of the details on the way it's gonna be laid out or formatted, especially when it comes to electricity and things like that, could possibly change once we come up with a use? I mean, is there a reason why we're doing this now and not waiting until we have like a proposed use for the building before we move ahead with this construction?
So the building, as I was kind of mentioning about the paneling system, as it stands right now, you would not be able to, we'd have to pull all the electrical out anyway. So all of it kind of cuts back to the main switches and we'd have to run all new electrical. These panel systems kind of all connect to each other in this weird puzzle-like manner, and all the wires that kind of run through them. The HVAC system also needs a total rehab. In order to do that, we would be taking out all of the ceiling in this facility. Even if we were to leave the walls, all the ceiling would come out, all the ductwork that's existing would come out, and we'd have to run all new ductwork, mixing boxes, control equipment, etc. So there's not a lot of redeeming value to the layout as it stands.
Right, no, I understand that, and I understand the different upgrades that need to be done, but I don't know why we're doing any upgrades if we don't have a use for the building. I guess that was my concern. Like, we're putting a lot of money into this building that we're not utilizing right now. So like even the HVAC system, if we're replacing it right now, I mean, if we don't use that building for 5 years, now we're starting to use a building with a 5-year-old HVAC system that hasn't been used for 5 years, when we could just wait and put a brand new one in 5 years when we start using it.
Yeah, I understand. This actually goes before my time. It's been on the capital plan a little bit. The executive office had interest of kind of clearing it out. We don't spend a ton in utilities right now, but we do have water on. We're gonna be cutting and capping all that back. But it was something discussed with the executive office, and the intention was to just do a white box demo in preparation in case we need it for whatever it may be.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. I was thinking that we were talking about the facility where we were housing children. So now that Commissioner Lucido has brought this up, unless Chair Brown can explain a reason that this building is being prepared, I don't understand at all why this money is going into this. Do you have an answer?
It's on the list to speak.
Thank you very much.
The answer is I don't have an answer. That's what we're gonna ask for one. I'm not sure what their thinking is. I'm not sure. I don't know what their plans are for that, so we'll get someone in here, appropriate meeting to tell us.
Well, I'm not voting for this. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ben. Chair.
Commissioner Sabatini.
Chair Brown's, I think, your first round, Chair, if you want to recognize him first.
I have no questions about he's doing the work, and the reasonings are not his to make. They've told him to do it, and he's got a job, and he's done a good job speccing it out and doing all they need to do. The questions are, is there the need and what the need is? That hasn't been fully explained to us. He's not in a position to do that. So I'll request from the executive's office that we get an explanation to do that, and there's no timeline on this. So maybe we just pause this and we ask for them to come in either at the next meeting or perhaps we can get them in sometime before that, but, so maybe we just pause on this and, we'll bring them in and get a clarification, if that's all right with you, Mr. Chairman.
I think you need the motion maker to make that decision.
I mean,
We can just vote it down.
well, we just withdraw the motion to support and we'll just address it at a future meeting.
Who is that, Commissioner Romano?
Chair, if I may just ask, there, Commissioner Kraft's on the list. I had another question. If we could just finish the conversation today and then you can
Commissioner
decide
Kraft.
after that.
Yeah, I'm yield, I'm done.
Thank you, Chair. My question kind of falls along the lines of what is the plan? You know, has there been any thought to sell the building? Or do we plan to keep it as a county asset as it is and then tailor it to our needs later? I'm just wondering, is there a thought or a plan or an idea to potentially sell?
I've not heard anything personally about selling the building. It was really, like Commissioner Brown said, it was really my task to get the demo going, and that's what I'm doing. There's talk about using it for future construction projects, for swing space for employees, but nothing has ever been set in stone with that particular building.
Okay. I look forward to hearing some
Sure.
responses from the exec's office. Thanks, Ben. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Now, Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, Ben.
Oh, you're fine.
So, obviously understand the task at hand here and what you're
Sure.
asking of the board. Gutting this entire building compared to totally demolishing it, have you guys done a cost comparison?
We have not. It's a brick building. The exterior of the building and the roof is in really good shape. I mean, the actual shape, the parking lot's big. So to me, I see it as a valuable building. It's just the inside is far beyond its use for modern day, for sure. But the actual building itself, it's a nice building.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear, because that would be
Yeah,
the
it's
thought process to go through in order
it's
to make
mostly
that
brick.
decision.
It's a really well put together facility. So I would not really support knocking it down per se unless the footprint would drastically change. But
So theoretically, if whatever the executive's decision is here relative to what the plan is, that could be a possibility in the future if they have a different plan where they
Sure.
wanted to knock it down rather
Yeah.
than going through this right now.
correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
This is just for demolition. This is not for any building or any materials
Correct.
afterwards.
Correct. It's
So
demolition.
we would just sort of strip the building and leave this big empty
Yep.
hulk.
Yep. This is taking out all the flooring, any of the hazardous materials, lights, everything.
$500,000 to rip out the inside paneling sounds like an awful lot of money.
It's a fairly large sized building. The panels, I think, are one of the driving factors. They can't take them out in big pieces. They're removing these big giant metal panels. So I think it's just difficult. The floor, we have to remove most of the floor, or we're gonna remove all of it. And then we're gonna prep the floor for future use as well. So it's grinding, scraping, and making all the surfaces perfect for our next endeavor, whatever it may
That's
be.
cement?
Yeah, slab.
Okay.
Yep.
Did we want to consider moving this or just vote it down now?
I think just remove the supporters, move the motion from the floor, and we'll just.
Commissioner Romano, you made the motion. Would you care to?
No. Oh, I'm sorry.
We can move it to the next month's meeting if you like, which that's probably the best way, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Romano? You-
Move it.
Support, Center.
Okay, so you're agree? So we'll move this to next month's
it.
meeting then. That would be October 10th to the Internal Services meeting. And that would apply to C also then
Yeah, they're
because
tied
it's sort of
together.
a companion.
Yeah.
So that's 6B and C to next month's meeting.
Yes.
Busy, Center.
Okay, 6D, agreement, Bentley System Incorporated.
To move it.
Do we need to vote on moving it? Okay.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Okay, 6D, agreement with Bentley Systems Incorporated for program subscriptions for OpenRoads, Leap Bridge, Concrete, OpenRoad signs, and MicroStation for a total of $46,320.83. I would like a motion to forward this to full board.
Support Nard.
Thank you, Commissioners Wallace and Nard support it to move this to full board. Jaco.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is engineering software that's being used by Department of Roads in their engineering department. They've been using this for many years, and it's really just a continuance of the software. So this is for the 2020 or the next budget year, as they are on different budget year for payment of that.
Is this seat licensing or like server licensing?
I think it is seat licensing. I think it's hosted by the company, but I wouldn't call it SaaS software. It's just hosted software by the company.
Okay. Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. Moving on, 6E, budget amendment for information technology, jail interruptible power system replacement for $49,718. I'd like a motion to move to full board.
Chair, I'll make the motion for E and F.
Thank you. Is there support? Thank you. Commissioner Zong, support with Commissioner Kraft to move this to full board. 6E and F.
Commissioners, the sheriff building experienced many power fluctuations, and also when the power goes out and generator kicks in, there's a delay in that process. And for us to keep critical systems up and running, we need to do something. And I say that because there's other factors that come into play, like with the jail project, they're going to do an electrical study, and we need information from that electrical study to help us with our future plans. But for now, what we can do is we can, for the towers, medical, mental health, and booking, we can add uninterruptible power supplies that'll help us keep the systems up and running for the time between the generator failing and the power failing and the generator kicking in. This caused a lot of problems for them because there's a lot of systems that's affected by this. And for example, in the towers, there's cameras that's affected by it, our switches, things like that. And we have to make sure that that is maintained. The difficulty, and this is why the electrical study come into play, is that we need to understand exactly where the power is coming from for the specific areas. And that is the challenge right now. And that's one of the reasons they're going to do the electrical study, so we understand that better. So at this point in time, this is what we need to do to, provide uptime for those systems. And like I said, we did a walkthrough, studied, take a look at the systems that's out there and made sure that the critical ones at least are being catered for.
Commissioner Brown?
What is an uninterruptible power supply? What are we talking about?
The most commonly known one is your computer at home. You might buy a power strip that when you have spikes in power and things like that, it actually protects your system. When you add batteries to that system, it actually can keep the system running for a while, while something else happens. In a home situation, you would do it so you have time to shut down your computer and not damage it. So it protects your system from damage as well as allow you with a little bit of extra time to shut down. In this situation, you get these big, what we call UPSs, like we have at Comtech, that can provide power for a lot of systems. Or you can buy just a small box, that can keep a few computers up and running and so forth. So that's exactly what it's used for. So it protects against power surges as well as provide power for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, I've always heard of surge protectors. I have them in my home, but I didn't know there was power attached to some of them as well if we wanted it.
Well, those ones, most of the ones at home does not have power attached to it. But as soon as you have one that has batteries in it, then that one will allow you to keep your system up and running, say 5 minutes on the battery that's in that system. And when that dies, your system will die. So you have time at least to shut it down. But they're more expensive, and that's what we're talking
How
about.
much time are you buying with these?
We will bridge the 7-minute gap between, and that's how we spec these systems. We make sure that we can bridge the 7-minute gap and have the power to keep it up and running for that 7 minutes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Romano?
Thank you, Chair. You just answered my question with the 7-minute gap. I withdraw.
Commissioner Zong?
Thank you, Chair. What do you mean you don't know where the power is coming from?
There's, it's difficult to explain. It's an old building. So if we don't have an exact map of where power is coming from, in other words, to determine whether the power is actually on the generator or not. If it's not plugged into the generator downstairs, then the power means really nothing. In other words, it's not going to kick in at all. So for us to put a UPS on that, for example, we'll keep it up, say 10 minutes, and then it'll die anyway. So we have to be sure that there is power coming to that specific device. So what we've spec'd here is areas where we know that the power is on generator power.
Okay. Have there been any power outages or power
There's
surges
been
that
quite
would
a few.
cause?
That's,
How many would you say, like a month or a year?
I would say at least one a month. We've had quite a few issues this year. We actually spec'd this last year during budget time, so we have $50,000 in the budget for that, but it's really because we don't exactly know how big the problem is. At this point in time, we have another 80,000 scheduled for next year.
Does the power outage and surges affect like the security cameras or the doors?
That's one of the issues. While they're out, security cameras are down, and that causes problems. It also services the doors, but the issue is that it's locked, so you cannot open them during that time. The difficulties are the cameras, because the sheriff's department is very concerned about there not being footage for the times that something like that happens.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Perna?
Probably a minute question, but I'm assuming that all these locations have backup generators, right?
Well, we have a backup generator for the jail, one big generator, and that's for the whole jail.
So the interrupted power supply, if there's a power outage, before that generator kicks in, will you be using the power supply backup?
The power supply will breach that time between the power outage and the generator kicking in.
How soon does that generator kick in normally?
About 7 minutes.
Takes that long?
Yeah, takes that long.
Big generator.
Because my house kicks in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Jaco, are the generators under your department, or what department are they under? Is that
I think they
facilities?
probably fall under facilities, pretty sure they do.
Are they monitored and wired back to Comtech?
I'm not sure if they all monitored. I know some of them are, but I'm not sure exactly how F&O manages those.
And
The UPSs that we talk about, those are monitored. We can see if batteries go out, or if they're not functioning, or if there's power spikes and things like that.
the first line item here for $17,965 is for UPS network drops
Yeah.
/ cores. Is that really network for that, or is that the rewiring to make sure the sections of the building are actually attached to the generator? Where does that cost come in?
It is network cost that we have to provide so that all the things are connected with that specific device. Otherwise, we have to buy multiple UPSs and put it out at different
Okay.
locations.
Sorry, my history, you say network, I think of
Yeah.
Ethernet, and this is network to attach the
To attach the
sensitive
different
equipment
devices,
to the
exactly.
UPSs.
Yeah.
Okay. Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. 6G, scope of work for Koa Hills Consulting on the Workday implementation data conversion for $41,250. I'd like a motion to move to full board.
Support Nard.
Thank you. Commissioners Wallace and Nard made the motion and supported it to move this item to full board. Jaco?
We are requesting this approval as part of the Workday project and paid for by contingency funds in the project. The contract is for company KOA Hills Consulting for assistance with the financial and general ledger data migrations. That is ongoing. This will continue till after go live, as we have to work on the deltas between now and go live. Those all will have to be transferred. The data will have to be migrated to the new environment. So, like I said, it's ongoing, and it will continue past go live October 2nd.
Thank you. Commissioner Brown?
The data migration, wasn't that part of the initial payment that we made for the project? Did we just discover that we have more data to download, or explain how that works a little bit?
We've been at the board before with KOA Hills, but it is a company that we use to assist us with the data migration. As you can imagine, there's a lot of data that need to be migrated, and with each migration, there's data fields that have to be matched once and then tested. And once those work, then the final data dump is done and we can move forward. So at this point in time, we've done all the data dumps that we need for going live. They're just testing data and finishing up all the different testing. But that now is continuing, because all the data that was not captured now will have to be captured regularly until after go live, to make sure we have all the data, because we're still inputting data into the old One Solution system.
And inputting data, you said it simply for basic information, matching fields. That's something we can all understand, because we all do that in some basic level in our own lives with what we do. But does it go beyond that?
Yeah, it's a pretty involved process. You know, a lot of data fields that needs to be looked at, mapped, and then once you've done that, then we send that to the vendor, which is Alight, and Alight then tests the data. If it's not 100% correct, they send it back to us and say, you know, this and this and this need to be fixed. then we do the fixes. And KOA Hills is a company that has done this many times, so they help us throughout this process. And because at the county, we have one database administrator that works for us, which is Joe McBratney. So it's just impossible for him to handle all that work.
Thousands of lines. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Hey, Jaco, how much is available still in that contingency fund?
I think after this and the traveling that's needed for go live October 2nd, we pretty much going to be depleted
Okay,
of funds in that.
okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Seeing no additional speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Item 6H, this was waived by the chair of the Finance, Audit, and Budget Committee for full board approval at this committee. This is because of the expediency we need to show in getting these vehicles purchased if we want to actually get them. I would like a motion to approve this.
Motion Zinner. Support.
Thank you, Commissioner Zinner, and supported by Commissioner Grott to do full board approval for this item.
That's 6H and 6,
H and I.
yeah.
Well, they're all different. I mean, they're all vehicles, but they're all different.
Is the motion for all three or
H, I, and
just
J?
the first one?
If you'd like to make the motion
For H, I, and J.
I can do all three together.
to support,
Thank you.
okay.
Hey, everybody, thank you for getting me in. So all three, two are actually vehicle requests. There are a few different vehicles for the sheriff's office set unit. Those are on the lot ready to be delivered. The urgency with these is that they're using federal forfeiture dollars and they report their federal forfeiture. Everything has to be done by either this month or next month to report for this year for those federal dollars. It is an allowable expense. The other one is for OSS for their handy helper. This is provided with grant, or this is paid for with grant money, and that has to be in by September 30th, so the end of this month, in order to use those grant funds. Otherwise, they disappear. The dealership is giving me a really hard time about holding vehicles, so they are willing to hold them for me until tomorrow, which is why I need the full board approval. And then the purchase for the sheriff vehicles, they have the money in their forfeiture funds. I just have to move some line items to make the total vehicle purchase, the new equipment line, equate to the $188,000.
Good. Seeing no speakers, please vote.
Excuse me, I forgot your name.
Nicole.
I knew it, but I forgot it. Nicole, did you say you needed the Chevrolet Buick tomorrow?
No, they're holding the vehicles until
Till
tomorrow.
full board?
So they're gonna hold them for tomorrow, so I already talked to our purchasing department, and they're gonna be able to send out a PO tomorrow, so I can sign the DocuSign, so then they can deliver the vehicles, and then, I'll process the check afterwards, after we take delivery of them. They just won't, they're tagged in our name right now, so they're not physically sold to us, they're just tagged for us, but if they don't tag them for us, then anybody in the dealership or any of their other dealerships can snag them and sell them. So they're willing to do that until tomorrow.
We're all set to go with that, Chair?
Yeah, I've reviewed this we've had discussions previously about this, and it's definitely needed to be done. So
Okay,
I'm
great,
signing off.
good. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. That includes item 6, item 7, public participation. Any topic at all? 3 minutes. Public participation. We'll close that and go to commissioner comments. Give me a second to get there. No, I'm there. Commissioner Zong.
Thank you, Chair. We had 2 articles published in the paper recently about the $700,000 that was stolen from the Public Works office, and those reports were very conflicting. The second one said that this was an ongoing investigation, and the first one, and when the staff were here, they said that this was a closed investigation. So I just need to know, I mean, I think it's important for us to know that we should be briefed on this, because I really don't know what to believe, and I don't like the fact that we have to learn about it in the paper. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
On that subject, Commissioners, we have an executive session scheduled in Commissioner Perna's committee next week. Then this is the subject of the discussion. I'm sure there are different viewpoints on that story apparently, so we're gonna get it all available in an executive session next week, so.
Seeing no other comments, Commissioner Romano,
Motion to adjourn.
is there support?
Support Center.
Thank you. Romano and Zinner have made the motion and support. Please vote.